Hello everyone, welcome. Crash here, this is RTA Motorsports. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're just going to go over real quick how to set up Steamvr and OSVR. Stay tuned.
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
Right now, so we're going to jump right in. I'm going to of course do a quick setup again for OSVR to get onto Steamvr. This is just going to be a quick and dirty setup. If you all need a more in-depth video, I'm going to try to be pretty in-depth here and try to go very quick. Let me know in the comments below. But we're going to transition over to the desktop so that way you can see what we're working with and what we're doing. So we have the OSVR website here. This is what you're going to use as the main website to download everything you need to get it working. Drivers, everything, all here. There's one additional website that I have pulled up right here, and we'll talk about what this is in just a moment and why this is really important for virtual desktop or anything else you want to do on Steamvr. So first you want to do, of course, you have the instructions here. I didn't even look at them. There's so much content, so many videos online, so many people helping each other out. I didn't really see it as being necessary, but there's a lot of good information in there, especially if you're a developer. Highly suggest taking a look at there, but I'm just impatient. So the OSVR runtime for Windows, you're going to want to download that. This is probably one of the most important things you want to stop and look at. You're going to see all these version numbers. These version numbers are the versions of their build. So you want to pay attention to which one you're clicking on, because that's going to make it work. If you select the wrong version numbers for like the SDK, this here, the runtime, things may not work right. You may not be able to connect to Steamvr. I've had this issue where I didn't update one item and it didn't work at all. So you want to download the newest version, the 0.6.1192, and we're running on 64-bit, so we're going to download the 64-bit. There we go. Click next. Now it already says that I already have it, so of course it's going to ask me to change, repair, whatnot. But, you know, normally it would just be a series of clicking next, agreeing to the terms and conditions, install. That's it. You don't have to restart your computer at that point. So we are going to get out of this here. And we're going to finish that. You would see that same finish screen once you were done there. Now we're going to go down to OSVR SDK for Windows. Again, 0.6.1192, 64-bit. Click. Very small files. So we're going to click next. We're going to read the terms and conditions, end user license, accept, next, and then you click next again, install. Let this kind of do its thing. Finish. Back again. OSVR core. Again, we're going to pay attention. Now, they kind of did a flip on us here, so you want to pay attention to that. The version number with the 64-bit is now the second one down. Okay, and you could read up here. This kind of explains what you're installing, but you'll see it's actually, it seems a little confusing right now, like what the heck am I installing? When we get Steamvr up and running, it's not too bad. So the second one down, we're going to click on that. Now this here is an actual zip file. We're going to extract to, and I created, and I highly suggest you do this, I created on my desktop an OSVR folder, and that's where I am downloading everything to, or extracting everything to, I should say, that needs to be extracted, that folder there. Now this is going to say I already have it, so I'm just going to say yes to all, but you would extract it to your folder that you created instead of just extracting it to a downloads folder where you have to look for everything. Kind of put it all in one spot because there's going to be a few of them. Click back again. OSVR HDK for Windows Driver Pack. You definitely need this. If you connect it and you don't have the drivers, or the drivers are not installed, you're going to want to do this, and you're going to want to click this here, the OSVR HDK combined driver install. It's going to install everything you need. It's a little bit larger of a file, but you still, I mean, no, it's really not. It's kilobytes. I was thinking megabytes for a second. A little bit of a brain fart. You're going to click that, and it's going to walk you through the install. Now, I do have this installed already. I don't want to install it again just in case this here messes up some of my drivers that I already have. So we're going to cancel out of there, but you want to click next, go through the installation process. And I highly suggest after installing drivers like this, you restart your computer. Now, the OSVR tracker viewer, you can install this here and download it. It's pretty neat. It kind of helps you. Now, again, see the core version number. You're going to want to actually install the correct, version number. This one here kind of shows you where you are in real time, but there's another way to do it as well. You don't necessarily need this, but again, we're going to extract this to our OSVR folder as we have before. Okay. You can see with WinRAR, I'm currently evaluating it. There's a few different versions or a few different free things to extract your files. I'm not exactly sure what other programs you may want to use, but you're going to need some sort of zip extractor. I'm currently on a free evaluation copy of that one. Not sure if I'm going to go with that one. If you know of any other free ones to use, definitely let me know in the comments below. Windows Render Manager version 6.4.0. Just download that. It's not going to give you the list as all these other ones are. This is just the most recent version. You're going to want to install that one as well. And you're just basically going down the list, installing all of the versions here. I'm going to click next. I already have it, so I'm not going to reinstall it. I'm going to hit cancel, but you would hit next, go through the installation process. Very, very easy. I didn't have to do this because once installing these up here, the most recent version of the firmware for the camera was already there. You could download and try to install it, and it'll let you know if your camera is already up to date. You may not have to do that. This one here, OSVR HDK control software, highly suggest you install this. Now, once you install this, you're going to see it's pretty neat software, and I'll pull it up in just a second here. A whole lot of me. Let's see, desktop, OSVR. Now you can see down here it just says setup. We're going to run that. It's going to take a few seconds to do what it's doing. Now, this is pretty darn neat, and the reason being is because what I was using TriDef for to create that split screen effect. I mean, TriDef has more in-depth software to it too, where you can create some separation, and it kind of renders things in a 3D environment that's not 3D. But if you're just looking for single side-by-side functions, you could click connect here. Now we're connected to our headset, and we could update our firmware, which I highly recommend you do. Click next. It's going to say found. It's going to show the tracker version and whatnot here. Click next. Click go. It's going to disconnect and reconnect the headset. And we're going to click next again. Click go. You're going to see this pop up. And there we go. Now from here, what you can do is you could just change the tracker mode to rotation vector or game rotation vector. I left it on game rotation vector only because that is the default. This here is all stock. The toggle side by side. I have noticed I've had issues in Steamvr where it would automatically, especially if I had to, like if the computer froze or whatever, disconnect and reconnect the headset in, as I'm going. The headset itself will go into this side-by-side mode automatically, where I'll have a split screen down the middle of the screen. And the only way I could go about fixing that before was almost uninstalling or reinstalling everything. Shutting off the computer wouldn't fix it. Disconnecting the headset wouldn't fix it. This here is actually the toggle for that. You could toggle however you want to do it. Oh, we didn't finish the install process, but you're going to see the new version of the tracker here. Click next and then close. But right here, I could change whether I want this to be side by side or full screen. And basically doing that fixed all of my issues there. So from there, we're just going to disconnect. And that's pretty much it. That is all you need software wise. So what you're going to see at this point is, once you go to your program files, if you're using Windows 10 like I am, you're going to go down, ignore these here. These are prior versions. Go to OSVR. You're going to have just a specific OSVR folder and just a few files. It's super easy. This is what it used to look like, with all these different versions and all these different options. And I'm sure they're useful, but for just a normal person like me and, probably everyone else watching this that is not a developer, this gets confusing. So with just this OSVR here, makes it very easy. So what you do is you take your camera, dropping everything apparently, so put it right in front of you, and you just turn on OSVR server. You're going to see that pop up. It's processing. Hold it in front of it. It's measuring the pose, and there you go. Now we actually have it picking up the headset in real time. And remember when I was saying the tracker viewer? This is what you're going to see here. You could open that up while you have your OSVR headset going in the server. And this is the tracker viewer here. And this is the headset in real time. You could see it move in every single axis. I could turn it around, forward and back. And I'm trying not to hit the microphone right now, but you could see it moving. And it's pretty neat, and that's how you can verify that both your camera and your headset are working and that they're tracking each other, that you're not only just getting rotation. There is still some tracking issues, like you could see that it's drifting right now. Of course, the headset is not in view of the camera. I have it way too close. But, sometimes you get that drift while in game. How can you help that? It's actually pretty darn easy. Let's X out of here, X out of here. Now, this is all stuff you're going to want to do before you set up your Steamvr, just so you could have the best experience possible. So you're going to want to go to your most recent version of the core snapshot. This is the OSVR core snapshot 0.6.1192. Keep that in mind. You're not going to have all these other files. This is all stuff that I did. You're going to want to go to your bin, and you're going to want to come down to here, video tracker calibration utility. You're going to want to run that. So let's run that real quick. I've already done this. Takes a little bit of time to do, especially with holding the headset in different ways. But these are all the trackers. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not exactly sure why. You're going to see the video stop moving once these trackers on the front of the headset are out of view. So you just bring it back in, it'll start working again. But you can see the back of the headset, we have trackers here, although they're not being picked up. Not exactly sure why. Not exactly sure why they're not being labeled or anything. Maybe it's going to come with the most recent update or something like that. But what you do is you take the headset and you hold it in front of the camera and you move around nice and slowly, and you'll see the red beacons, the red numbers, slowly turn yellow, and then they'll slowly turn green once they're recognized. And you have that progress bar in the bottom. There it goes at number 8. Let's see if we can get it green. And you got to find the nice sweet spot for each number. You'll notice there'll be a black dot in the middle of the numbers themselves once that beacon is actually being recognized. So you move this around till all of them are green. You'll be surprised about some of the angles you actually have to move the headset in for some of the beacons. It almost doesn't make sense. I think, where is it? Number 5 was like the weirdest. You almost have to hold it. No, it's not that way. But number 5 is that one right in the middle by my middle finger there. You have to hold it in kind of a strange angle, and then it's picked up. There we go. You have to tilt it down just like that, then it's picked up. You see it just snapped green. So yeah, go through that whole process. Hit S to save, and then quit. We have already done it, and I went through each one. And once you're done with that, then you're going to get a little bit less of that drift effect. And kind of helps with the experience overall. So now we're going to jump into Steam, and I'm going to show you where to get the files that you need and how to get it up and running. So I'm going to give credit to where credit is due. Robin Renaud here. He created a pretty cool video on how to set up Elite Dangerous. Now, this is with a prior version of Steamvr. But he posted a link here, and this is it right down here, the dl.bintrade.com/OSVR/SteamVR. That one here, you select that, and you go down to the bottom, and you can notice that right down here on the bottom, we have what pertains to our core version, the 0.6. It's this one down here, -1192. That one there, you're going to want to download. That's how we're going to let Steamvr know that we're using our OSVR and how to attach itself to the OSVR itself. So you're going to want to click on that. See if we could get it going. Finally. You're going to want to extract it to that same folder. Remember, we're using that OSVR folder that you have created. You're going to extract it to that. I already have this in there, but I'm going to do it again anyway. We're going to say yes to all. And now we can minimize this because we are finally done with downloading everything we need to download as far as on the computer side is concerned. So from here, you're going to look for this folder here, the Steamvr-OSVR. And you're going to see this folder here, drivers. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that folder and you're going to want to copy it into your C drive or wherever you have Steam installed. So we're going to go to C, Programs 86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common. And if you have not installed Steamvr yet, you're not going to see this here. But if you have, you're going to see Steamvr's folder here. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit for anyone that has not installed Steamvr yet. You're going to want to open up your Steam. You're going to want to go to Tools. So you go to Library, go down to Tools, and you're going to see Steamvr down here. Okay? So I already have it installed, but that's where you're going to want to install it. You're going to, like as if, let's just say, see one of these were, you know, Steamvr, you're going to double click and it's going to ask if you want to install and create a desktop icon. Select yes and install it. You can see I'm using the beta. So if I go to properties, you can see beta there, and then there's also none. This one here is another version that I was using that I found on a forum with a code to try to use, but it's really not necessary the way that we're doing it. So just pretend you didn't even see that. But you could use none or the beta. I'm using the beta just to see if there's any sort of differences. But once you have that installed, close out Steam. You go back into this folder and you should see the Steamvr folder sitting here. So you're going to open that up and you're going to see the drivers. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drag that drivers folder Now, I'm not actually going to do this because I already have everything all set up on my end, but I'm just going to demo it for you. What you're going to want to do is here, take your drivers folder, you drag it onto this one, okay? So from here, actually, you're going to want to take your OSVR folder. I apologize, because then you're going to have a double drivers, and that's not going to make any sense. You want the OSVR folder from here in here. And once you select that, you're going to see the bin. You're going to see this here. Okay. So OSVR folder from this one into your Steam folder. Okay. Then you back out and you're going to open up this drivers.config file. You're going to right click that. You're going to edit. I like to use Notepad++. If you've seen my other videos, it's pretty easy to use. It looks a lot nicer than everything else, like normal Notepad and whatnot. Hit enter twice. You're going to insert a bracket, and you're going to put OSVR in small letters there. Hit file, and hit save. X that out. That's it. So now we should be good to go at this point. You already have Steamvr installed. You should have a little folder here now that says Steamvr, and you should have a little desktop icon if you chose to have one. First step you're going to want to do is you could either do it one of two ways. You could go to all apps and you could go to OSVR and you could open up the server there, or go to your desktop, go to OSVR, go to your core snapshot, then you're going to have to go to bin, which is a little bit more more to it, and then go to OSVR server here. Now, I've been using my OSVR server here because I've been kind of thinking maybe it might actually update with the video tracker calibrations utility that I've had in the same file. Haven't noticed it to be too much more stable or smooth. It hasn't been too bad, so I've just been using it here. But once you turn that on, you should see the light on your tracker camera turn on, and you see that it recognized. There we go. So you leave this up and running, go to your Steamvr, click play. And at this point, hopefully, if I didn't mess anything up, you're going to see Steamvr, and this is exactly what you want to see. Although it doesn't look like it's what you want to see, it is. It is. This green symbol means that your headset is ready and it's connected. So once you have Steamvr up and running and you have that symbol that we have just described, what you should see is the compositor, or the Steamvr empty room as I like to call it. And it's really nothing too crazy. It just basically confirms and shows you an empty room in VR space. So what you're going to experience is this here. And this here is what I see through each of my individual eyes. And you can see it's just basically an empty room. It's an empty room. You could look around, you could look up, you could look down. Now with the OSVR headset, you do have tendency to kind of fall through the floor, and you can look up and see everything there. But once you get to your normal seated position, where it took the position from when you first calibrated your headset, when you started the OSVR server, I should say, that's pretty much seated position, and you're going to look around and notice that you're above the floor. You're above the floor and everything looks nice and smooth and nice and pretty. And there you go. That's when you see that, you know that Steamvr is connected and you are good to go. If you see any weird split screens, or you see like 4 of those in your headset itself, you're going to want to go to that setup and toggle that split screen that we did earlier. So if you're having any sort of issues kind of using your OSVR to get on Steamvr titles like Virtual Desktop or anything else like that, hopefully this helped you out and kind of gave you a little bit more insight on how to get on Steamvr with the OSVR now that they got rid of all the betas. So again, this is Crash, this is RTA Motorsports. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you for stopping by.